As always, you've been very, very busy. I saw your Instagram. I've been stalking you a little bit. And you had a candid shot.
Yes.
And all it said was, it was very mysterious. All it said was like cooking something or ready for, what did you say?
Ready for my close-up. Yes, close-up ready. I think that's what I
Close-up ready.
Yes.
What is this close-up? What's happening?
I was filming something very special where I was front of camera for once.
Wow.
I think that's all I can say.
Wow. Not even a little bit.
We were in Chirundu, and it was an outdoor shoot in this heat.
Okay, we're not getting much out of you.
No. But soon, all will be revealed.
All will be revealed in good time. I'm excited.
Me too.
Okay, so I'm looking at my papers because I want to get this right.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get all of the things that you do right.
Okay.
So I'm going to read this out. You are a recording artist, TV and film producer. It doesn't say this in some of the bios, but I added director to that as well because I know you have done some directing.
Yes.
TV host.
Yes.
Radio host.
Yes.
Voiceover artist.
Yes, ma'am.
Stage production.
Yes.
Environmentalist.
Yes.
You do some merchandise as well.
Yes.
And you're the managing partner at Color Coded Media. Did I get
all correct?
Did I leave anything out?
No. I mean, environmentalist pretty much, I'm a tree hugger. I always say that. So
how do you get all of that done?
And like listening to you read it all out, it sounds like a lot of things, but it comes in different seasons. Okay. Maybe one thing that you did miss is I also do some community management as far as like social media and things like that.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's my current day job.
Yeah.
But away from that, I try to balance everything. Obviously, like with the stage production stuff, those come as and when, a request has come. Whether through a client, a friend.
So what do you do? Do you design stage sets? Or...
No. So I do stage management.
Right.
Yeah. So basically what that entails is, let's say you have a conference or you have a concert, right? And so you will hire me to come in and basically manage all the, the technical side of what that will look and feel like.
Wow, we really need it. You saw the niche in the Zambian market and you're like, I'm doing that.
I kind of sort of stumbled into it.
Right.
I have a theater background.
Okay.
So on and off the stage. But on the off stage part of it, I did a lot of like stagehand stuff, arts and crafts. We had to do that as part of training. And also just putting together a production. Right. So what a stage manager does is a stage manager will come in and sit with you and you have this idea. You're the event promoter or event planner and you'll say, I'm going to have X number of artists. For example, if it's a concert, I'm going to have X number of artists and I'm going to need someone to coordinate them. I'm going to need, they need to rehearse. They need to do sound check. They need to, you need to make sure that we're sticking to the program time.
Right.
So if this artist has 10 minutes to perform, you need to make sure they're on stage within that time and they're off stage within that time.
It makes so much sense because you're like a TV producer as well. And the last time we sat down together to do an interview, you were producing TV. Was it Zuba or was it Timpani?
I was production manager for that one.
Yes. Yeah. And it sounds almost exactly like being a production manager for
really
something
is.
Like that. Yeah.
It really, really is. Yeah.
Amazing. So when you have to introduce yourself?
I just say I'm a creative. Because if I start explaining everything, it's just like, I get these, so what are you? You get a lot of that. If you're a multi-hyphen artist or creative, I've noticed this in Zambia. I can't speak for other countries, but I've noticed this in Zambia is people don't know where to place you. They'll think, today she's singing. I met her on a set, she was directing or she was producing, I met her at a concert and she was backstage.
Yeah.
Like, you're everywhere. I've had people say, but you're everywhere. You know everyone. I'm like,
Yes.
multi-talented,
Yeah.
and I'm making use of them. Yeah.
And why do you think you ended up wanting to do so many different things? Like, how did you end up doing all of those
I think
things?
it's also just the love of the creative space.
Right.
I don't know if you've noticed in your stalking. If I'm not working or whatever, sometimes I will go to an art gallery, or an opening of an exhibition. I enjoy being around art, and I enjoy seeing something come together. I think that's for me. That's the curiosity. Is I enjoy seeing something come together.
The creation
the
of
process,
yes,
the whole process from beginning to the end.
Mm-hmm.
Even though in between there it's really hectic.
Mm-hmm.
I always say this: most people will enjoy the episodes. They'll go and they'll binge watch something.
Mm-hmm.
But when you actually get into the nitty-gritty of what it takes to put together that show that you really love,
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. It's a long hours,
yes,
sleepless nights,
Trust me.
Yeah.
But it's also so much fun, right? And then seeing all of it come together at the end
is.
of that.
I always say that I'm fortunate to be basically, it's almost like I'm playing every day, when you're in a set or whatever. It's like you and your friends have come together and you're just basically having fun. So sometimes it's almost unfair. It feels it feels kind of unfair.
Yeah.
Like, what are we actually doing, guys?
Yeah.
I mean, it's work, yes, but we're having fun at it. So I feel fortunate.
And I get that as well because I tried working an office job.
Tell me about that.
It didn't last very long because I like the variety, the being able to do so many different things.
Yeah.
And I think that's what, like, being a multi-hyphenate, that's what it does, I'm sure, for you as well, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. But then within that, there's different types of work, okay? So, like, he says here, you're a managing partner. Sounds very work. But then at the same time, also a recording artist.
Yeah.
So how do you balance that?
I think with that, there are certain seasons, and I think all of us can attest to this. Being in the creative industry in Zambia you're not guaranteed to have work all the time. So there are those off seasons where you're like, how am I going to pay my bills this month?
Right.
And I take those moments as, okay, this is now time for me to sort of go back to the drawing board. First of all, rest. And then second of all is, okay, what do we want to do next?
Like some thinking time.
Yeah. Like, what sort of music do I want to make? Or, what sort of production do I want to be part of? So those are the moments, those are the pockets that, you sort of reset,
right,
and take the time to just basically breathe, introspect, work on your mental health. Talk about that. Work on your mental health. Connect with friends and family, because as you know, there are those times where you don't have time for that.
And you can be just so immersed that you almost have to be reminded that there's a world outside of.
You have to be intentional. I think now I'm more intentional about that.
Right.
Like making that time.
So, the whole, like, recording artist, TV, film, what do you think is the common thread with all of these things?
I think for me is I just love African artists in general. African creators in general. I love the space that we're in right now as a continent, so I look at what amazing things that people are doing out there and just here within Lusaka even, and I think for me is my biggest thing is, am I having fun? Am I enjoying what I'm doing? If I'm not enjoying what I'm doing, then I stop, So I think for me is one, am I enjoying what I'm doing? Two, what impact? What is the impact that we are creating out there, with this? What are we hoping people to take away from this? I think because I've seen this in the creative space, most people just want to make noise.
Right.
just hype.
Yeah.
It's all about hype, but there's no real impact, like lasting impact, on
and you're
society.
talking societal
Societal impact. So for me, there's some times where you do jobs and you're just like, look, I just want to pay my bills and let's move on.
Yeah.
But then there's certain things that you do and you're just like, this is something great. This is, and great, and I mean that like, legacy kind of a great thing,
Right.
So I look at that and I'm like, it doesn't matter what I need to do. I just need to get it, I need to do what I need to do in order for this thing to succeed.
Yeah.
And I think for me, that's what keeps me going.
Yeah.
And the third thing is the why. Why am I doing it?
Yeah. Do you ask yourself why before you take on projects?
I do. If you called me and you said, Seya, let's embark on this project together, I have to first sit back and think about it. And sometimes it takes me longer to respond.
Yeah.
Because I really want to sit with it and think about what that will mean for me in my life and what I stand for.
It probably is another reason why you're working for yourself, because it's easier to be able to pick and choose, not just pick and choose, but also to be able to sit back and say, do I really want to do this? Or what's my strategy? Or how can I do this in a way that is true to me and the legacy, like you say, that I want to leave?
And I will say this, like currently I'm working for someone, like for an agency. Yeah. And before I took that, I had to ask myself, I had to observe. Luckily for me, I was already doing a few like short-term projects with them. So I kind of started learning their culture and how things work within, Yeah. And so when they asked me to take on more responsibilities and add more hours and stuff like that, it wasn't a difficult yes. So for me, when I said yes to work with this agency, I was like, okay. I laid down my terms as well.
Yes, girl.
Because I think before I would shortchange myself.
Yeah.
When someone would call me and say, look, I would like to work with you on this and this and this. Can you come alongside me and work with, I wouldn't really lay my terms and stick to my terms.
Yeah.
It would always be sacrificing on
my
end.
A little bit sheepish about it.
Yeah. And just being afraid to speak up for myself.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's like, no, girl, we're grown now,
I was going to say, this is part of growth.
Yeah, we're grown now. Yeah. And if something is not feeling right, you got to speak up for yourself because no one is going to speak up for you.
I want to dig into the money thing a little bit because you mentioned it a couple of things and a couple of times, and we can't run away from it. Like in the creative sphere, sometimes you're multi-hyphenate because you like many different things. And sometimes, like you say, it's because you have to make your money in many different ways, right? So how do you pick and choose that? How do you, figure that out? Like the sort of multiple streams of income thing. Yeah.
I was talking to someone, a friend, and they were basically saying how for them, they can't have side hustles. Right?
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, in the creative space, no side hustles? What? How? In Zambia? Are you for real?
Yeah.
But for me, it's been, that's how it's been,
So you don't consider any of these things side hustles. They're all the hustle.
It's hustle. It's part of the hustle, And also, truth be told, we can't run away from the fact that, economically where our country is in any sector, it's a bit tight. Not even a bit. It's tight. It is tight.
Yes.
So you cannot afford to, I hate to say it this way, but you cannot afford to say no to jobs. But even with that, right, I think we need to also be realistic. Sometimes they're not really worth taking on. Certain jobs, because of the nonsense that come. I'm just gonna say it.
Yes,
the nonsense that come with certain jobs. So I think for me, what helps is I look at, okay, how long is this job gonna take me to execute, or how long is this project?
Yeah,
and what is the demand on myself, right? What is it asking of me? If, for example, if I'm just doing maybe voiceovers, right? With voiceovers, it's a little bit more flexible, you know. Some of them are one-offs,
Yeah.
you know, some of them are ongoing, right?
And although there's a production behind it, you're
Yeah.
mostly like working as an individual. Whereas we know that most of the other things within the media sphere
are group-based.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've gotten work before without even anyone asking for my CV because of other people recommending.
Word of mouth.
Word of mouth, yes. But if I'm doing a very crappy job, it gets around. It just be like, that girl, nah.
We're not working with her.
We don't.
It's a really small industry.
And it's a very tiny industry. Yeah. Everyone pretty much knows everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a couple of gems in there. You've spoken about knowing your worth, being able to gauge what you can do and what you can't. I think also on top of that, people charging enough. So deciding that if this is your reputation, this is your worth, this is what should be being paid. And I don't want to, we're going to gloss over it, but, you know, in the Zambian industry, you find that people undercharge a lot of the times. Because they just want to get a job. They just want to do some work. And we understand that, like we said, right? It's understandable. But at the same time, it's not helping the industry to grow. So there's a few gems in there. But I want to move on and talk about music.
Yay!
I've heard you say before that music is your actual, like of all those things that I mentioned, music is like where it's at.
Music has always been my first love. But it's been a journey, a difficult journey.
Yes.
Fun, but difficult.
I want to hear about the difficult journey.
I think part of it is also on my end.
Right.
Not really believing in it, you know. Yes, I can sing. I think it's only in recent years where I have actually sat down and was like, okay, I'm really good at this, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas in the beginning, it was more like, will they like me?
Yeah.
You know?
Seeking validation.
Yeah. It was more about other people as opposed to doing it for myself. Now I think I'm at a place where I think I'm a lot more comfortable.
I will say that, I mean, we met was it a couple of months ago or just a month ago? And I saw you and you had like your beads and like, bright lipstick and you always have like, you know, big African something, you know, jewelry and all of this stuff. And I just seeing you, like knowing you for a few years and knowing what you were like before and how you showed up before and how you show up now. Yeah. I mean, I mentioned it to you as well. I said, I just love it so much because I can see the difference in you. Like I can see that you're living
for myself.
Yes. You're doing you now.
I think for the longest time, I lived for other people.
Yeah.
And this thing of, it felt like, you know, like I felt enslaved to other people's opinions. And now I'm like...
And when you cut your hair, I was like, it's about to go down. Because, you know, they say that when a woman changes her hair, she's about to change her life.
A lot of things I did in the past were, you know, trying to please... I will go there. Trying to please my pastors, trying to please my church friends, trying to please my family, you know? There was a lot of that.
Yeah.
And then when that turning point of just being tired of it all.
It's exhausting.
And just sort of distancing myself or removing myself from certain environments. And I went through a hermit season where I was just like completely cut off from people.
Yeah.
Only a select few people, you know, had access to me. And I had to sit with myself.
And was that, did you consciously do that or did you sort of just turn around and find yourself?
It was a conscious thing, but at the same time, circumstantial thing. So, yeah, it was in those moments where I'm like, who is Seya? What do I like? What don't I like? You know, what are some things that inside of me that I need to work on? You know, Let's manage the weaknesses. Let's amplify the strengths.
Yeah.
And even like certain friendships. Okay, is this working for you and where you're at? You know, certain belief systems. Is this who you are? Do you truly believe that? You know,
Yeah.
there was a lot. I went through a season of like extended introspection, so to speak.
Yeah.
And it was in those moments that I was like starting to know who I am. What do I like? What don't I like? You know, who do I want to be around? You know, what am I like when I'm, you know, by myself?
Yes.
And when I'm with other people? Who shows up? You know, what version of myself shows up?
Right.
All of those important things and important questions that I had to ask myself. You know, it was rough.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was liberating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's always great for you who's going through the change. But what was it like for the people around you?
So I recently watched an Insta reel where someone was talking about how when you are changing, I'm paraphrasing, when you're changing and becoming the person that you're becoming, right? Why people resist that, people who love you, people who have known you for a long time, why they resist that is because they're losing the person that they've known.
Right.
And they don't want to lose that.
Ah, okay. It's a loss for them.
It's a loss for them because now they don't know what this other side of you, this new version of you is.
Yeah.
And it's almost like the people who actually do stick around and are really close to you are those who not only are doing the work on themselves and are also equally evolving, but they get it.
Right.
Like you need to evolve. You know, you need to constantly work on yourself and question certain things about yourself and other people.
Yeah.
And work on that, you know. And I noticed that in my life.
Yeah.
You know, the people who are like the closest, my closest dear friends, and even some family members.
Yeah.
Are people that have embraced this me.
Yeah.
You know, whatever it is.
And
Yeah.
and I like that you say whatever it is because there's so many different aspects.
Yeah.
Now, someone listening or watching will be like, but she said she's going to talk about music. And now we're like,
right.
But
it's
I'm
in
asking
the
this.
music.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is why I'm asking this.
Yeah.
Because how has that impacted your music now?
I think with that is I try to communicate whatever it is that I'm experiencing or have experienced in the music.
I think the other way that this shift manifested is in the range of music that you're doing. Yeah. So I was listening to your EP, Queen, and I was like, it's just very, you know, got that reggae, soulful. I don't want to say folk because it's actually Kalindula kind of vibe going on, but then there's also some house in there. But like every single, like we were listening to it and we're like, is this still Seya? That's the same EP, you know, like there's so much range within there. Like what was that like?
So when we're making Queen, it started off as, we're just going to make a song.
Yeah.
One song. When we're making that EP, it was not even an EP in mind. Okay, backstory. I had quit music.
This was in your introspection phase.
Yeah, I had quit music. And I had a rough time with music.
Why music? Was music... Why was that like...
Looking back at my journey, you know, waiting on other people, they'll promise you, I'm going to do this for you musically or whatever. And then they don't, you know. And then you start now having animosity towards certain individuals and bitterness and all of these things, right? Start, you know, developing inside of you. But then the turning point for me was, let me just do it myself. Yeah. You know, I remember I was sitting down with Superman, funny thing.
Yeah.
From So Good Entertainment.
So Superman did save you.
He did. Shout out to Super. So I sat down with him and he's a very good friend of mine. And I basically was just a mess. And I told him, this is what happened and this and this and this and this and this. And then he was like, come to studio. You know, I want you to meet a couple of people. Come, let's do a song. You know. So then finally, you know, we put down some dates, and I went into studio.
Yeah.
And I realized how much I missed it. And then I was like, I'd love to do a love song, but not just a typical love song.
Yeah.
You
Had you never done a love song before that?
No,
ever?
not really. No, I hadn't. And so I was like, I would love to do a love song, but I was like, the kind of song I was thinking like a folk, old school Kalindula kind of inspired song.
Yeah.
So we record that song, and yeah, I just fell in love with all these different songs, and I was like, you know what, we're making an EP.
Yeah.
And that's how with the 2 house songs, there's a producer called D-Dusties, and he's done a lot of hip hop for like different artists,
right.
Big artists, and he's a good friend. And so for the longest time we had been trying to like work on something, and so I was like, look, I would love to do house, because he had sent me a couple of samples of beats that he had done, like house songs. I was like, what about let's try Amapiano?
Yeah.
He's like, okay, I will send you some things. So he sent me the beat for Feel Good. I was intimidated. I was so scared of that beat because I was like, are you for real? Like, you made this for me.
Yeah.
He's like, I made it for you, girl. But I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't want to mess this up, because like, this is such a beautiful thing, you know? It's a beautiful instrumental.
It sounds like you love collaboration.
I do. I've seen the power of collaboration.
Yeah.
And what it can do and how far it can go. Yeah.
And you've collaborated on this EP, you collaborated with like a vast array of people. But because of that, I was interested. What were some of your early... I know that you did theater in early years and everything, but when it came to music...
Yeah.
Like I remember, for example, growing up, we had like so much different kind of music in the house. From like ABBA to Kenny Rogers to John Denver to like Joan Armatrading and Fleetwood Mac and Bob Marley, like just so many. I wanted to be Madonna. Like when people...
You're basically describing my childhood. All those different artists you've described, you're just basically describing my childhood.
Is that what it was like for you? As in, what were your early music influences?
My mom was creative in her own right. I don't think she was like a musician, but she was musical.
Right.
In the sense that her musical collection that she had, we had, vinyls.
Yes.
And then CDs.
Yes.
So I'm not going to reveal my age. But I think I sort of did.
It's okay. This is a safe space.
So my mom would play different genres around the house. You know that Saturday when it's time to clean the house. Yes. I think the whole music thing is what made it fun, because like, who has fun cleaning the house?
Yeah.
But anyway, some people do. No judgment. So she would play Earth, Wind and Fire, for example.
Yes.
Ray Charles, she would also play classical music,
Wow, yes.
Mozart, Tchaikovsky, and all these others. Or she would, the first time I heard Nirvana was my mom.
Wow.
Yeah. The first time I listened to that first album of theirs, I was like, oh my God, there's music like this?
Yeah.
She would play, so yeah, growing up, on those Saturdays, or maybe going for a drive, she would do these random, let's go for a drive.
Yeah.
And she'd pop in a cassette and, or sometimes even just, she would expose me to like the latest celebrity gossip at the time. She'd be like, this art, so this person did this. So then my mind as a kid, I was like, there are people who are like this. Madonna. I listened to Madonna because of her.
Listen, the queen.
Yeah. Michael Jackson. Oh my goodness. Michael Jackson.
And Tina Turner, I bet.
Yeah. All of those.
Yeah.
So it was, I think also for me, that's why it's difficult sometimes to choose to stick to one genre. Right. Because I love music. Like I love music. Different genres.
And that was going to be my next question. Was, when we package everything up together.
Yeah.
what do you because this is something that I sort of struggled with. Like when I said I was listening to Asha, and it made me think of you, but also there's like Kalindula thrown in there and all of that. So how do you describe your music? Because at the end of the day, now like you have to be commercial to a certain extent, right? And so when you put your music on, I don't know, SoundCloud or Apple or wherever it is, what do you call your music?
It's very difficult. It's very difficult. I'm not even going to try and sit here and pretend. It's very difficult to describe what my music is. The closest is maybe Afropop, because there's that genre now. Because I sample from, like I borrow from different genres as far as my musical influences are concerned. I think that's the closest. Yeah. Is that I can't say, it's reggae, it's jazz, it's this, it's that. I think it's Afro.
So it's for people who just like music.
Yeah, music lovers, yeah.
And you mentioned the languages. This is like a little bit of a segue, but on your flags on your socials, yes. Zambia and Congo.
Yeah.
What is this?
My father.
Oh.
My father's from DRC.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And do you have you traveled there? Are you in touch with that heritage?
But I am in touch, but I'm yet to go there. I grew up with my mom. Yeah. My mom's side, the Zambian side.
Yeah.
I'm yet to
but go. It's clearly something important enough for you to have the flag there.
There's so many things. I mean, my uncles, my dad's family, they send me information about, this is your father's tribe.
Yes.
This is who we are. This is our heritage. This is what we believe in. And so like, there's all of these things that I'm like discovering more and more that just make make my journey even more interesting.
Yeah.
But I think, I always tell people you need to know your heritage on both sides. You need to understand what cultural practices and their significance, spiritually as well. I think it's important as Africans for us to understand those things because most times we are so lost. And then when you start learning these things, that's when certain things start clicking. Like, maybe that's why I do that. Or maybe that's why I'm drawn to that or that person. Yeah. Or,
and especially when you say spiritually, it's just such, I don't know, it's one of those intangible things, but it makes a huge difference knowing like sort of where your heritage is.
And to be honest with you, I'm going to sound a little political. Colonization was such a huge disruptor to Africa and Africans. And it's almost like we're, scrounging in the dark now, trying to like get as many little puzzle pieces in order for us to understand who we are. Who were we prior to that? And I'm not talking, on the political, economic and all of these things, just as a culture, as people.
Yeah.
Because knowing who you are makes you less lost.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because when you don't know who you are, you're completely lost.
It gives you grounding.
Yeah,
it makes you more sure of yourself.
It really does.
It's sort of like that. And in Wakanda was like the perfect example of this. Like that. And this is why I thought Michael B. Jordan. That's why I loved his portrayal so much. He was my favorite character. I don't like Black Panther. We don't need to go into it.
I understand you. I understand you.
But his portrayal of an African American who is just yearning, to figure out what is my heritage, where are my roots, and like angry about the fact that they're not maybe being embraced by So
Killmonger was not so much of a villain, really. I think Killmonger is a lot of us.
I would be following him. I don't care about T'Challa. Whatever his name is.
But I think it's important that we ask these questions. Who are we? A lot of older people are dying off. And I am urging everyone that's listening and watching, go and ask whoever you have access to, that's older. Go and ask them questions. Go to your village. I'm going to my village for the first time this year.
Oh, have you never been?
I've been to Luapula, but I've never been to
Where in Luapula? Because I'm from Kawambwa.
We need to have a conversation. We need to have a conversation.
Well, part of me is from Kawamba. So while you're all this searching you're doing, all this going to Kawamba, you love it, by the way. It's absolutely beautiful. I spent my childhood going back to Kawamba very often, so I love it. But while you're doing all this searching and digging and trying to find out who you are and learning new things about you, I'm sure there's like some amazing music that's going to come up as a result of that. Yep. So what's coming up next musically for you?
There's a song that I recently recorded with someone amazing. I won't mention his name.
Again with the secrets.
I don't want to let the cat out of the bag yet.
Okay.
But soon you'll see some visuals. And then there's I've been recording low key.
Okay.
So I've got a number of songs that we're just finishing up in studio that will soon be releasing. Mm-hmm. And another EP that's
okay.
That's gonna be fun to make.
Exciting. Are you like in the midst of writing for that EP at the moment?
Low key, yes, on and off.
Okay.
I don't have the luxury to sit and write all day. I wish I could.
Yes.
But I mean I'm still learning songwriting. I'm not. Right. I wouldn't confidently call myself a songwriter, but I think I am a songwriter in my own right.
Okay.
So I'm putting together ideas of what it is that I want to talk about. Mm-hmm. A lot of the stuff has to do with my heritage.
Yeah.
I think it's important to put that in song. I mean, isn't that what African storytelling is all about, right? Mm-hmm. There's the mysticism, and then there's also lessons to be learned in a lot of our storytelling.
Yeah.
I grew up with a grandmother who was a storyteller, and I think part of me being a creative came from her, you know.
In what way was she a storyteller?
We would have story time almost every night.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and she would tell us stories in Bemba.
Yes.
And there was a lot of songs in there, call and response.
Chochise. My grandmother did that as well.
Yeah. So I was very fortunate to have that woman in my life. Mm-hmm. And I learned a lot, you know, from that. And I think it's the songs in her storytelling that birthed this songbird. So I when I look back and I'm like, wow, I was really fortunate to have that woman in my life growing up. And I'm grateful to her. Mm-hmm. I'm really grateful to her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to see a more grounded EP.
I think so. Yeah. I think so. Yeah.
Exciting times. Okay, winding down. There's something I was watching, and you were asked about beauty, right? And something that struck me was that you said that for you, beauty is about what we create. What emanates from us. I'm maybe paraphrasing, but you said something like that. So it really struck me, and I put down here beauty as an expression of creativity. Yeah. And so
I like that.
So what is the beauty when you look at all of these different things that you're doing? What do you think is the beauty that is emanating from you?
I'm gonna quote my own song.
Yeah.
Called Beautiful. Beautiful. And basically in that song I'm talking about how you are the best version of yourself when you are your authentic self. Mm-hmm. Because everyone else is taken up. So when I try to be like you, for example, I've basically put me on the shelf.
Right.
And I'm putting on this mask, right? That is not me. So when I remove the mask and I'm like, look, this is me. This is who I am. Mm-hmm. And this is what I am about. It's coming from a real place, you know, and I'm unapologetic about it. I think we are our most beautiful when we are our authentic self. I don't know if that has answered your question or not.
And that seeps into every single thing that you do.
Everything you do. Mm-hmm. Because then it's very easy for you not to even be manipulated into doing things that you that are not you,
Mm-hmm.
because you know who you are,
Yeah.
you know, and you're confident in who you are. And so when something that is a lie, that is inauthentic comes your way, you will trust your gut and not go that way. Yeah.
So basically, anyone who wants to hire you for all of these things that you do, they should know that if they're hiring Seya, they're going to get beauty. She's going to create something beautiful.
Yes, in a nutshell.
Yeah. Okay, to end. What is something, either a book or a poem or a song or anything that is, I like to call all of these things stories. So films, all of them, it's all a form of storytelling.
Yeah, storytelling.
Yeah. Do you have one of an item or a book or anything like that you would say has either impacted you or that is a reflection of what you're trying to convey to the world?
So a few years ago, a friend of mine, because I'm a tree hugger, bought me a book on my birthday. She did not know what she did that day when she bought that book. She bought me Wangari Maathai's autobiography.
Oh, wow.
It's called Unbowed. And when I read that book, I think it took me a week and a half to read it.
What is it about? And if anybody doesn't know who
so
she
Wangari
is.
Maathai, the late Dr. Wangari Maathai, Kenyan environmentalist and storyteller. I believe she's a storyteller. Yeah. She was a storyteller. She was also a politician.
Yes.
You know? So the story is basically about her life, and how she tells the story is so interesting because you sort of learn the Kenyan political history.
Right. Through her
story.
Right.
Because she takes you back to the beginning, you know, during colonialism, and even a bit about pre-colonialism. So through her family. Yeah. So she'd tell you, this is what was happening in the country, and this is how my mom and dad met, or this is how my grandfather and my grandmother. So she takes you story by story, and then she takes you through her fight. Right. You know, I mean, the green let me not get this wrong. The Green Belt movement was started by her and founded by her. So it shows you the genesis of that through the book. Right. And also the fight to save certain forests in Kenya and what it had to take. She was arrested several times. Right. But for me, it was her resilience. I think for me, it was her resilience that just, oh man. When I read that book in the ending, you know, and when she wins her Nobel finally, I got so emotional, I cried. So I look at all those things and I'm like, this woman was about her words. Yes. Her words meant everything to her, you know, to a point of almost losing her life so many times, you know. So I really learned a lot from that book, and it really impacted me in a positive way because it sort of shifted the way I look at even just the movement of like conservation, even here, you know, how it's predominantly white. Yeah. Yes. You know, yes, and there's a few that are now, and I'm so glad that there's organizations now and there's movements now within the country that are pushing young people, young Black Zambians to get into conservation, you know, in the conservation space and pushing the agenda of you need to get involved. Yeah. No one else is coming in to save your country. Yeah. It has to take us to actually get into that. And I just hope that it's not just the young people taking on the agenda of the white people, but it's our own agendas as well. I hope we're being introspective about it and actually really thinking about what do we need as communities. Yep. Okay. It's been amazing talking to you. I've enjoyed this conversation. I really have. We could keep going. We could keep going on and on and on, but somebody will not let us. So, you've given us a lot of spoilers for what's coming up next. I'm sure that if people want to know more, they have to follow you on socials. Yes.
So where can they find out more about you?
So on Twitter, my handle is at Seya Fundafunda.
Right.
Instagram, same. On Facebook, Seya Fundafunda, the artist.
Yeah.
Yep.
Amazing. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed this.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.